Okay, but Remy, where's the deal? Out of gameplay in the background. Stop making me watch Monster Hunter. What the heck, man?
Alright, you whiny babies, you can have your DU auto gameplay in the background just this once. Now stop whining. I wanted to talk about HSR going forward, but I think I'll leave that topic for the appropriate time, so stay tuned for that one. In this video, I want to talk about saving culture in gacha games. Not saving culture, but the culture of saving. Basically, it's about the simple act of saving whatever resources you have in the game. Whether it's the non-premium currency like credits, character EXP, relic enhancement materials, and more importantly, the premium ones like stellar jades and oniric shards. To get it out of the way, there is a very clear difference between saving and hoarding. Hoarding is when you refuse to use the abundance of resources that you already have because you're afraid that it'll all go to waste. This applies to both premium and non-premium resources, but most of the time when it's about hoarding, it's for the non-premium resource. People that hoard jades usually have the extreme fear of power creep. For example, refusing to pull Runmei for your break team because you're scared that her power creep is around the corner or something like that. While I understand this mentality, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna contradict this somewhere along the video, it doesn't really apply to older units like Runmei because of the countless testings that have already been shown how important she is for break teams. This is just an example. The more common hoarding thing is more like people refusing to max out their relics and characters because it's not worth it or it'll end up bad anyway. Like when people say, oh, getting from plus 12 to plus 15 is the same thing as plus 1 to plus 12, so I'm just gonna keep the plus 12 anyway. And then usually they would have like 3 bajillion relic EXP stored. No, listen. First of all, you have a lot of resources, stop hoarding, just max them. Secondly, wanting good pieces or waiting for good characters to invest in is all perfectly fine thing to do. The problem comes when you're doing all this hoarding when you literally have nothing. While we can agree that Fei Xiao is better than Danheng as a DPS, using Danheng as a DPS temporarily is better than not using a DPS at all. But this mostly happens during the early game. Another example is, while we can agree that a double crit piece is better than a piece with 3 flat stats, the piece with 3 flats is better than not putting anything on your character. There's a common argument against this that usually goes like, well, I don't care for rewards anyway, I don't want to do min-maxing whatever, so I'm just gonna wait until I actually get something good to spend resources on. Which is true if you already have a decently established account. But most of the hoarding cases I see are done by early game players who has no build characters, no used relics, nothing. And they tend to ask for advice because they're struggling in the story or whatever, but when told to build up their roster a bit, they refuse to do it and continues to whine. I mean, at that point, I'm just like, alright bro, you do you, I guess. Point is, it's perfectly fine to use some of your early game resources to get your account going so that you can slowly upgrade to the better things. That was hoarding, right? But now I want to talk about saving. Once you do have a decently established account, usually you're able to just farm things easily, story isn't a problem anymore, and you can clear enough of the endgame content to get most of the premium rewards with ease. At this point of the game, I'd recommend to start saving your resources, namely your jades. Me personally, I started to be a lot more stingy with my jades, picking banners a lot more carefully than when I started out. Because back then I used to just impulse pull for fun, which don't do that by the way. My stamina either goes to maxing traces of characters I use, min-maxing the builds I already have, or building up a whole new character. As for the jades, I only pull for the characters that I like, or characters that I know works really well with the characters that I like. This allows me to passively stock up on things like credits, EXP, because I'm not consuming them as often. When the rare moment that I do have a new character to raise, I just need to farm the trace mats and the relics. Real quick, for anyone who's not doing this already, you should really be using the assignments for these materials. I can't stress enough about how good this thing is, because I see a lot of people, including my friends, who tend to use the assignments for the enemy drops instead, which tend to lead them needing to spend stamina on resources like credits and EXP. Me personally, I don't do overworld farming anymore, and even for the newer worlds, I rarely find myself struggling for the drops. And even then, if I am a bit short, it takes like 5 minutes to use the navigate system and kill a few enemies along the way. Point is, I just don't agree with using assignments for enemy drops, because it's very easy to get them, which allows you to spend stamina on things that are actually stamina exclusive. I'd like to assume that a lot of people watching already know this stuff, and if you don't, well, now you know. But that was for the non-premium currency. What about the premium ones? Stellar Jade and the Oniric shards. Real quick, if you're a low spender and you only get the Welkin Pass and you don't buy direct top-ups, in my opinion, you should keep the little bit of Oniric shards you get and not convert them to jades. Genshin had a thing when they released skins, you can only buy them using Oniric shards equivalent. So me personally, I just keep them around, just in case. Okay, now let's talk about actual jades. I played gacha games for a while now, and during those times, the idea of saving currency, skipping banners, was always a common trend for the player base, at least for the communities that I was in. Like, if you want to pull a unit, you go through a couple of checks. Do you like them? If yes, pull, else skip. Do they benefit your account? If yes, pull, else skip. Then again, it could also be the fact that the gachas I played wasn't as meta intensive, or I didn't really follow the meta anyway. Regardless, this doesn't seem to be the case in HSR. Every time a unit comes out, doesn't matter how good they actually are, I've always seen people say must pull, top tier, OP, must pull, top tier, OP. And if you say otherwise, then you're an absolute baboon who doesn't know how to play the game, you're a moron, and you should kill. The whole thing of HSR endgame catering to newer units on release, and some even a bit after, tend to give people this massive FOMO. Seeing them feel great on release and the continuous shilling makes them feel really dominant in the meta, even with low investment. Then the rerun comes along, you finally pull them, but then XD, there's a new unit that comes and power creeps it, and the cycle continues. This leads people to always wanting to impulse pull on initial banners, cause they don't want to be the idiot that skipped the OP unit, which is basically FOMO. I'll be using this word often cause I really want to drive this point home to the few people that actually watch my videos. Thank you by the way, please also comment, like, and sub. Very appreciate all y'all. This game basically lives off FOMO. The scenarios will always make it so that whatever there is something new, you'll always feel obligated to own it. Like, I'm not telling people to skip Sunday or anything. Well, that's a lie. I literally did. But the point of that video wasn't exactly, you should skip Sunday. Yeah, I know it was the title, it meant to be clickbait, whatever. Point of the video is more so, don't fall for the FOMO. I've been seeing a lot of talks about pulling on reruns, specifically on a Sunday rerun, plus future OP summon unit. One of the common response I see is, it's easier to pull for him now, and then the summon unit later, because you'll only be pulling for you one unit, a banner, instead of two. This is such a dumb argument in my opinion. If you skip Sunday right now, that means you save your jades, and you'll still be able to pull him during his rerun. Your jades don't magically disappear during this waiting time. This only happens if you throw your jades around without care and you impulse pull like crazy, which at that point, the issue isn't pulling 2 units in a patch, the issue is you lacking self-control. Another point that I often see brought up is when people say that this is another Ronmei Robin situation. First point I want to bring up, The last time there's a Harmony unit that's meant to power creep Bronya, she fell off hard. Just saying. But more importantly, there's a difference between Ranmei and Robin and Sunday. Ranmei and Robin basically could be slotted into any team aside Robin for break. They'll significantly improve it. Even without future knowledge, their kit was already versatile enough to the point that it was a no-brainer to get them at the time. But for Sunday, as of right now, the units that benefits from him a lot are mostly old units of the past. So it's like, are you really gonna spend your jades on a unit to buff your 1.x DPS? I mean, I would, because I love Sele. But me personally, I don't think Sunday is doing anything for her. Too much of his power budget went to summons, and he really is just a Bronya. Or in this case, Sparkle 2.0 for Sele, which honestly ain't doing much in my opinion. Another thing, yeah, not to feed into the whole power creep phobia brain rot, again, contradicting what I said in the beginning of the video, but it's like just a smarter decision to wait and see if he's actually gonna be good with future summons. Cause chances are, he won't immediately get a rerun when Aglia is out, which we know that Remembrance will have summons, but what if she ends up not needing Sunday that much, at least temporarily, since we know newer units tend to be glazed even at low investment. What if there's an even better summon unit than Aglia? Which is highly possible by the way, considering she's the first unit of the patch. Usually the stronger unit of the patch gets released later down the line. That stronger summon could also be released with the Sunday rerun, which is also highly possible since they've repeatedly done this with Ranmei Firefly and Robin Facia. What if there's an even better support to replace Sunday's slot? Now you'll be eaten by FOMO even harder. Again, contradicting to the point that I made in the beginning, but you get the idea. Once again, if you like Sunday for who he is, then by all means just get him. But to the ones driven by FOMO, just sit it out. Trust me, it's not worth it. If you're thinking that without him, you won't be able to full clear MOC or whatever, and you'd lose jades and all that, listen, the jades you'd lose from pulling him is significantly higher than the jades you'd get from clearing because you have him. I explained this in one of my previous videos, but I'll explain it again. Let's say if you skip Sunday, you'll only be able to clear Mach 10 out of 12. By the way, the numbers are exactly the same for Pure Fiction and Apocalyptic Shadow. Now let's say if you spend, let's pretend the average cost of a 5-star is 100 pulls, it'll be 16,000 jades. You'll be able to fully clear MOC. Technically speaking, this gives you more jades per MOC, right? But the cost to get this is 16,000 jades. So you end up on a net negative. And for this to make you back the jades, it'll take about 4 years or so. And that's not even profit yet. Now, my goal with this is not to backseat people's resources or money, even though that's exactly what's happening right now. Let me explain. I have a younger brother. He doesn't really play gacha games, but he does have friends who do. And these friends of his, they'll spend hundreds of dollars in order to get the characters that they want. Again, not trying to backseat, but me personally, I just think it's not a healthy way to go about it. Especially at such an age. Not that I'm saying it's fine when you're older, but it's like odd if you're doing it if you don't have a disposable income yet. Like if you already have a well-paying job, you can afford to splurge here and there without it negatively impacting your financial condition, then who am I to tell you how to spend your hard-earned money? But I just seen so many cases of people willing to go to extreme lengths just for these pixels, and it's even worse when they don't even want or benefit from it. Like if they're just FOMO driven. Maybe all these cases are fake. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. But in the case there's anyone out there that needs to hear it, please just shake off the FOMO. Are you able to pay rent next month? Surely instant noodles every day isn't good for you. Are you able to get Monster Hunter Wilds? Just save your resources. In-game and IRL. And that's about it. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. Comment down your thoughts, feedbacks are greatly appreciated, and I'll be reading through them. If you want to see more of me, consider hitting the subscribe button, it's free. I'll be doing more of these Yap videos in the future, even for other games. Now take a sip of water and have a good day.